me, what's important is that this administrative rule says very clearly that it's not okay to engage in conversion therapy with young people. If it still allows adults who are interested in participating in conversion therapy to engage in conversion therapy, but recognizing that youth are uniquely positioned that they don't have much control over what they can and can't do. It's something that it's saying that we can't subject young people to that. That has to be something that adult would choose for themselves.
I am intrigued with that because it's one of the states has just this week introduced a bill that is supposedly against conversion therapy, except that they are explaining conversion therapy as gender transition. So that they're really going to muddy the water as to that the whole conversion therapy sort of thing.
Loree, I hadn't heard that, and that makes me depressed that they're doing that. But of course, they use us to against us, right? So they use. Yep.
So in their list, puberty blockers, testosterone, all of those were listed as illegal under that if that law had passed. But so was things like shocking the kid with electrotherapy and stuff like that. So it listed our health measures with these really awful torture kinds of things. So they're getting weirder. So Michael has put in chat more about this. It's a conversion. Okay. Now, it's a conversion therapy bill that's in Indiana. Of course, it's Republican led. HB 1118 seeks to ban conversion therapy, an effort many LGBT people would support, which they define as physical conversion therapy, i.e., a healthcare professional may not purposefully attempt to change, reinforce, or affirm a minor's perception of the minor's own sexual attraction or sexual behavior, or attempt to change, reinforce, or affirm a minor's gender identity when that identity is inconsistent with the minor's biological sex by engaging in any of the following activities. And then the bill has a list that includes prescribing puberty blockers or hormones, along with items like subjecting the minor's genitals to an electric current, wrapping the minor's hands in heat coils and injecting drugs into the minor to induce vomiting. So they have just put together those kinds of tortures with trans affirmative care. The bill would also trigger child abuse investigations if parents approved gender affirming care, and says violations of the legislation would be a level 5 felony in that state, subject to 1 to 6 years in jail.
Could I jump in with a moment, like a hopeful perspective?
Please.
Yeah, so because when I hear these things, I get sick to my stomach and I'm like, oh Lord, right? Even if I'm recounting the things that we can probably expect from our legislature this year, the shining light right now, at least for the next 2 years, is that we have Governor Evers, who I like to call Uncle Tony, who, I've been in conversation with for a number of years and had a chance to talk with him about trans youth a number of times. And I know that he will reliably veto anything that comes up. Of course, that might be different if we were to lose him as a governor. But, no matter how gross they might get at the state level, we do have that protection and that person having our back. I do think one of the things to really be vigilant is that a lot of these efforts are shifting from state legislatures to local school boards, which is, a reason to be paying attention to what's happening at school boards and showing up. Like, I always encourage folks to show up and thank school boards or school districts that are doing good things for trans and queer youth, or to encourage them to adopt practices that support and encourage or support and protect trans and binary non-binary youth. So so that's, but I still and what I go back to is that even if we have school boards that have been taken over by extremists, we also still have, for the time being, really amazing educators who do what they can, and they try really hard to work around and sometimes ignore the bad decisions by the adults above them. So, but it's getting harder and harder.
Thank you very much for that, Brian. It does remind me also that we are getting many more trans and non-binary candidates into office. So that's another strand that's coming. I will mention that tomorrow our training webinar is on state-sanctioned hate. We're still at the beginning of understanding what's going on, and we're definitely at the beginning of figuring out how we're going to respond to what's going on. But I would encourage people to attend tomorrow's webinar if you can and you're interested in these.